Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas.
So today, we're digging into a really tough question, one that a lot of people wrestle with, not just about the church, but really about any huge old institution that's showing its age and its flaws. The question is, why stick around when you can see so much to criticize? To get our heads around this, we're going to look at the perspective of Joseph Ratzinger. You probably know him better as Pope Benedict XVI. He offered a way of thinking about this that goes way beyond just being frustrated. And here's the roadmap we're going to follow to understand his thought process. Okay, first things first, we have to understand the sheer scale of the problem he was talking about. This wasn't just some minor disagreement. We're talking about a massive crisis of trust. And Ratzinger never tried to downplay this. Not at all. He spoke right to that anger, that frustration that so many people felt. He even acknowledged the rightful horror, as the source material says, that people had when looking at the sins and failures in the church. He really, truly got why people were walking away. But here's the twist. His answer wasn't to just try and fix the management or to tell people to give up and leave. Instead, he asked people to look deeper, to find the church's true identity in a completely different source. He uses this really powerful analogy of a family. Think about it. You don't disown your family just because they drive you crazy or make mistakes. You stay because the bond, the love, is something way more fundamental. And for Ratzinger, the church's fundamental bond came from somewhere else entirely. And this is really the heart of his whole argument. He's saying, look, the human part of the church, it's flawed, for sure. But its true essence, its essential quality, that comes from a divine source. He believed that this supernatural life is always, always stronger than the human messiness that we can all see so clearly. So, if the church's real source is divine, what does that do to our ideas of power and authority? Well, as it turns out, it changes everything. It's not at all what we normally think of. This way of thinking draws a really sharp line in the sand between two totally different ideas. On one side, you have worldly power, which is all about control, managing things, imposing your will. But on the other, you have what's called exousia, or true church authority, and it is the complete opposite. It's all about service, obedience, and humble love. Yeah, this exousia, it's not the authority of a CEO or a general. It's the authority of an instrument, like a tool in the hands of a craftsman. The whole point is to become a clear window for a higher purpose, basically following the example of Christ, who came to serve, not to be served. It's an authority that's rooted in becoming less, not more. Okay, but this brings up a pretty logical question. If the church is this living, divine thing and not just some static human club, how does it change over thousands of years without just losing itself completely? To answer that, Ratzinger actually leaned on the ideas of a brilliant 19th century thinker, Cardinal John Henry Newman. Newman came up with this theory of the development of doctrine. His big idea was that the church's understanding isn't frozen in time. Instead, it grows and matures, kind of like a living organism. But Newman was careful to say that not all change is good. He laid out these tests to tell the difference between healthy growth and, well, corruption. For instance, preservation of type, the idea that an oak tree looks really different from an acorn, but it's still an oak. Its core identity is the same. Then there's the power of assimilation. It can absorb new ideas without being destroyed by them. And conservative action. This means real growth always builds on the past. It doesn't just tear it down. This quote from Newman just perfectly captures the whole spirit of the idea. In his view, a faith that's actually alive has to be a faith that's developing. So change isn't a sign that you're unfaithful. It's a sign of life itself. So, how does this all come together? All these ideas lead to a final, really powerful image of what the church is supposed to be. Ratzinger calls the church a sacrament. Now, that's just a way of saying it's a visible sign of an invisible reality. Its entire purpose is to point to something beyond itself. He loved the image of a window. You don't stare at the window, you look through it. The point isn't to get obsessed with the smudges and cracks in the window frame, the human flaws, but to focus on the amazing reality it allows you to see. And this leads to one final, crucial distinction. We're supposed to be wanderers, not makers. The whole idea is that the church is a gift that we receive, not a project that we build and perfect. It's so easy to want to constantly tinker with it and redesign it to our own liking. But Ratzinger suggests its real value, its freedom, lies in the simple fact that it comes from beyond us. So, let's sum it all up. Ratzinger's answer to the crisis of faith isn't to ignore the problems, but to totally reframe them. When you see the church's identity as divine, its authority as service, its nature as something that develops, and its reality as a gift, well, a completely different reason to stay begins to emerge.
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We so often judge institutions by how flawless they are. But what if, for this particular institution, its true strength isn't found in a lack of human failure, but in a divine capacity that allows it to live and breathe and grow right through it all?